All right, here is a study guide for the Unit 3 test, linear equations and inequalities. All right, so the first two problems that I have here are the literal equations. So basically, we are solving for a specific variable, okay? So the way I think about this is I want to look for what is it asking me to solve for. So it's asking me to solve for x, and we see that the x is right there. And then I know that my final answer is going to be x equals, okay? So I'm going to start with the original equation. So 3x plus 12 equals y, okay? And then we notice that here is my x right here. This is what I'm solving for, okay? All right, so my first step in solving this is take out the constant. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the 12, the number that's not being multiplied to the variable that I'm looking for. And then that gets crossed out. So I subtracted both sides by 12. So I have 3x equals y minus 12. And then my last step in solving for this is solving for x is dividing by 3 on both sides, dividing by 3 on both sides. So I have x equals y minus 12 over 3. I'll just leave it like that. So in my answer choices, it's just basically asking me to describe what is it that we did. So the first thing we did was subtract 12 on both sides, subtract 12 on both sides, and then divide by 3, and then divide by 3, okay? And that's it. All right, here's a little bit more complicated because it has parentheses and it has a bunch of stuff, right? So but my main focus first is try to figure out what it's asking me to solve for. Okay, it's asking me to solve for x. X is right there. Okay, so here, before I can subtract the 1, I have parentheses, which means multiplication, and the opposite of multiplication is division. We have, and then we have the q on the outside. So this whole thing right here, 1 plus x over n, is being multiplied by q, which means to get rid of it, I need to divide both sides of the equal sign. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side, the golden rule of equations. So here we're going to divide both sides by q, divide both sides by q. That gets rid of the q, okay? So what do I have left here? I have p over q equals 1 plus x over n, okay? And then here, I'm going to next go ahead and remove the constant term, the number that's not attached to my variable that I'm solving for. So I'm going to subtract both sides by 1, subtract both sides of the equal sign by 1. So that gets crossed out. And then I have here p over q minus 1. I know it looks weird, but just go with it. P over q minus 1 equals x over n, okay? And then the last step here is x is being divided by n. So to be able to solve for x, get x by itself, I need to multiply both sides by n, okay? Remember, let me actually go ahead and use parentheses because everything has to get multiplied like that, okay? So what happens here is the n's get crossed out and you just have x by itself. So let me just kind of write everything out. So x equals all of this. So n parentheses p over q minus 1. Okay, the first one right here. Okay, so those are the two problems that I have on here dealing with the literal equations, okay? Equations with many variables and you're solving for one specific variable. It will tell you what to solve for. All right, number 3 and number 4 deal with solving equations. All right, so when you have an equation and you see the variable on both sides of the equation, we need to simplify the left side and then simplify the right side. So let me go ahead and divide divide out this equation here. So I have the left side of the equation, and then I have the right side of the equation, okay? So on the left side, when I simplify this, I can go ahead and distribute the 5, okay? So that would be 5 times x, which is 5x, and then 5 times 4, which is 20, equals 5x minus 12, okay? So I don't have anything else to simplify. On the left side, I can't combine like terms, nothing. So this is where I am. And what I notice is I have 5x and 5x here. So I can cross them out because they get canceled. They can cancel each other out. The reason is, you don't have to write this down, but the reason is I can just subtract 5x from both sides, and that's what cancels it out. But I like to just take it out. And then bring whatever is remaining. So I have 20 equals negative 12. So when you have two different numbers on the equal sign, that means it's no real solution. There's no solution for this specific equation, okay? And that's that. If you end up having like this, so for example, let me just make up another problem here. Let's say that you have something like this. You have 6 times x plus 3. Sorry, let me do 2. Equals 3 times, I don't know, 2x plus 4. Let's say I have something like this, okay? Here, I'll go ahead and simplify both sides of the equal sign. So remember, an equal sign has a left side and a right side. And the best way to do these type of problems is to simplify the left side and then simplify the right side. So when I'm simplifying the left side, I distribute, so 6 times x is 6x, 6 times 2 is 12, equals 3 times 2 is 12, sorry, 3 times 2 is 6x, and then 3 times 4 is 12. Notice it's the same thing on both sides, right, Joe? Even if I take out the 6, I have 12 equals 12. I can actually take those out too, but I'll just leave it here. When you have the same number on both sides, that would be infinitely many solutions. Okay? All right, now the last question on this page, page number 1, you have this equation. All right, so when you have a fraction on both sides of the equal sign, remember again, we have the equal sign, we have the left side and the right side, okay? I need to, when you have a fraction on both sides, we need to cross multiply. All right, so when you are cross multiplying this, okay, when you're cross multiplying this, just make sure that everything gets multiplied, meaning I need to distribute the 2 to everything in the numerator here and distribute the 4 to everything in the numerator here. So we're going to go ahead and cross multiply. Notice how I'm going to set up this equation. So you have 2 times 3r plus 2 equals 4 times r minus 1. Okay? All right, so we're going to go ahead and distribute. So 2 times 3 is 6r, and then 2 times 2 is 4, equals 4 times r is 4r, and then 4 times 1 is negative 4. All right, I cannot just take out the 4s because one is positive, one is negative. They're not the same thing, so I'll leave that alone. So then my next step is going to be subtract 4r on both sides. So 6 minus 4 is 2r plus 4, bring down the 4, equals, that gets canceled out, minus 4. And then now it's just a two-step equation. Negative 8, and then final step, divide by 2, and then you have here r equals negative 4. R equals negative 4, and that's my answer. All right. Yeah, I'll just keep going. I thought I'd make a new video, but I'll keep going with this one. All right. So here on this page, we're starting to get into inequalities. So inequalities, we're going to solve it just like how you would solve a equal sign do all the rules, but the only thing you have to remember is when you are multiplying or dividing by a negative number, you have to switch the signs. Let's see if we have any of those situations. All right, here, again, I have inequality, and then I'm going to solve this. So we'll go ahead and first move the x term over, so subtract 2x on both sides. So 3x minus 2x is 1x, or just x, plus 5 is greater than or equal to 8. Keep the sign. The only way that this sign gets switched is when you multiply or divide by a negative. All right, so I'm gonna then subtract 5 on both sides. Subtract 5 on both sides. Don't know why I just crossed that out, but let me move this up here. So x, this gets crossed out, so I only have x here. X is greater than or equal to 8 minus 5 is 3. Okay, so now to grab this, we're going to go to 3. We're going to put a closed circle, meaning we're going to fill it in. And then x is greater than, so it means all the numbers that are higher than 3, which is on the right side. And it goes all the way off to infinity. Okay, and that's my answer. I do want to show you that you can honestly just throw this in Desmos exactly the way it is, and then it will show you. Let me do it. And then it's going to graph something like this. And then you're going to click on this. So 3, positive 3. And then you notice how it's shading to the right, like this. So which means it's going to x is greater than or equal to. The reason it's equal to, because I see a solid line, and also because of the equal to sign. So that makes it a solid circle here. Okay. All right, here's another equation. We'll go ahead and solve this. I can go ahead and put this in Desmos. Let me do that first. See if I can find my answer a lot faster, and then I will do it by hand to show you how you can do this if without Desmos. Just typing it in exactly the way it is. Okay, so it's going to be greater than, so it'll be either B or D, and it's starting at -2, so it's -2 closed circle, so it's B. Okay, all right, you can fast forward, but I'll go ahead and solve this by hand. Okay, so I see parentheses on the left side, so I'll go ahead and distribute. So for this one, to be able to, I'm just going to put that in decimal. So -3/4 times 6 is going to be, I'll turn that back into a fraction, -9/2. I'm going to write it over here, okay? Just because I need some space. -9/2 x. Negative times a positive. I know this is going to be a negative, so -3/4 times 10. If I'm distributing that, that's going to be -15/2. And then less than or equal to, we'll go ahead and distribute this. 1/2 of 8, it's 4x. And then 1/2 of 19, it's not going to be an even number, so I'll just put it as 19/2. Okay, so basically I did 1/2 times 19, it's going to be that, 19/2. Okay, and then here I'll go ahead and subtract out the 4 just to move the variable term over here. So to combine these two, that's going to be -9/2 minus 4. And turn that back into a fraction. -17/2 minus 15/2 less than or equal to, that gets crossed out, 19/2. Where'd my x go? Oh, it's right here. I need to make sure to put an x there. All right. This problem. And then, but you notice I'm dealing with the fractions in Desmos. At this point, I'll do that. All right, so plus 15/2 plus 15/2. That gets crossed out. So I have here -17/2x is less than or equal to, what's that, 19 over 2 plus 15 over 2? 19 over 2 plus 15 over 2. That's just 17. Positive 17. And then the next step is to get rid of this fraction. I need to multiply both sides by the reciprocal. Okay, so I need to multiply this by negative, keep the negative because negative makes that positive, 2 over 17. Multiply this side also by negative 2 over 17. Notice that I am multiplying both sides by negative, so my sign will flip. So everything gets crossed out here. So you have x, change the sign because I multiplied by a negative, and then here this is going to be x is greater or equal to negative 2 because what it is? 17 times negative 2 over 17 is negative 2. There you go. That took a long time. All right, let me go to the next page. Actually, I'll go ahead and start a new video because this video is taking longer. So let me start the new video, okay? All right, here's the second part for the review. It says here directions. Select all the correct answers, okay? Select each equation that has no real solutions. So no real solutions, remember, means that when you have two different numbers on both sides of the equation. So what we do here is we need to simplify the left side of the equation and the right side of the equation. So I'll go ahead and just kind of write it to the side here. So we're going to distribute this. So negative 2 times negative 6 is positive 12x. Negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6 equals. And then on the right side, I don't have parentheses, but I can combine like terms. Negative 5 plus 17 is positive 12x. So I'm combining these two together. And then I'll go ahead and combine negative 4 and positive 10. So these two are like terms. Negative 4 plus 10 is positive 6. Okay, so what do I have here? I have the same things on both sides. I can go ahead and take out the x term. So I have here 6 equals 6. Which means this is an infinitely many solution, okay? That's not what I want. I want something that has no real solutions, okay? Another way you could handle this problem in Desmos is you can put the left side on one left side of the equal sign of the equation in Desmos like this, and then you can split it, okay? Negative 5 minus 4 plus 17x plus 10. Look what happened. It's the same exact line. When it's the same exact line, that means that it's infinitely many solutions. Okay? All right. That's that. Over here, let me go ahead and do it by hand, and I'll try it a little, see if I can do it faster in Desmos. Negative 5 times negative 6, that's, here, I had to distribute that too. Anyway, negative 5 times negative 6 is positive 30x. Negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. And that equals, on the right side, there's nothing to simplify, so I'll go ahead and just bring that over. And then when you have two different numbers, I know it's going to be one solution. It's not asking me to solve it, so I'll just leave it alone. This is going to be one solution, so that's also not going to work. So maybe it's this one and this one. Let's see. Oh, how can I see one solution in Desmos? So what I can do here is put the left side, negative 5 parentheses negative 6x plus 3 on one side, and then the other one is negative 6x when they cross each other, something like that, then you know that it's one solution. That actually solution would be here. It's this fraction, but I'm not solving it. Okay, that's one solution. So again, just to recap, when you have the lines on top of each other like that, that means it's infinitely many solutions. And then when they're crossing like this, that's one solution. Okay. Anyway, let me keep going. These two. So let me go ahead and do it by hand first. So here on the left side, if you notice, I can go ahead and combine like terms. Negative 5x, or negative 5 plus 3x, so plus 3. The coefficient is negative 2x. And then 7 minus 5 is also negative 2, or positive 2. I was so confident in that. Okay, positive 2 equals negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2x. And then 12 minus 7 is positive 5. Okay, so if you notice here, negative 2x cross out. So then I have here 2 equals 5. And that's going to be 2 equals 5. Those are two different numbers, so it is no solution. So that's actually what we're looking for, is no solution right there. How do I see no solution in Desmos? So I'm going to put the left side in. Desmos, and then put the right side in Desmos. So this is how no solution looks like in Desmos when you split the equation, okay? They're going to be parallel lines. So basically they don't cross, which means that there's no solutions that will make this equation true, okay? Because of time, I'm just going to use Desmos, honestly. So I'll put negative 3 minus 5 plus x. Here's the first equation, or the left side of the equation. 1 minus x plus 1. Here's the right side of the equation. It looks like they're crossing. Then there's something wrong here. Hold on. Plus x, 9 minus 1 plus x. Well, there's only one. I think this should have been, yeah, I don't know. This should have come out to be no. Okay, let me do it by hand. Sorry, y'all. I feel like I did something wrong here. Okay, so negative 3 times x is negative 9x. Negative 3 times negative 5 is positive 15. Plus x. Oh, it's the plus x that messes it up. Never mind. Yeah, it's one solution. So this is only one. Okay. All right. Which equation has a solution of negative 10 over 9? So to see if it's a solution or not, you would plug the equation on the left side, plug the solution in the left side, and then plug it on the right side. And if two numbers match, then it works out. So basically what I'm trying to say is, let's say you have the left side, 3 times 2 x plus 5, right? So what I can do here is take out the x. Actually, before I take it out, let me go ahead and put a parentheses around the x, and then substitute my solution. It doesn't matter what I get, that's what I got. And then on the right side, I have 5 minus 3x. And then I'm going to put a parentheses around the x, and then take out the x, and then plug in my solution. Sorry, I'm still thinking about the previous problem. Anyway, so when I plugged in the solution in on the left side for x and then on the right side for x, I got the same number. So that means that that is the solution. Okay, let me show you what a no solution looks like. Let me just try answer choice B. So 3 times 2 parentheses negative 10 over 9 minus 1. I got that number, and then if I do the right side of the equation, 5 times 1 plus negative 10 over 9. See how I got two different numbers here? So that's how I know it's not a solution, okay? All right, I'll move on for that one. I don't know why I marked number that. The answer is A. Okay. All right, this question. Direction. Select the correct answers. All right, so Emily wants to buy a bicycle to ride to school. The bike costs $600. She has $120 in her savings account and plans to save more money before purchasing the bicycle. And Emily's family will double. So basically, they're going to times 2 the final amount. Okay, so let's set up an equation here. We know that the bike costs $600. And to get to $600, she will see how much she needs to save. So she already has $120 and she needs to know how much more she needs to save. So we'll use X. And then also one more thing, her family will double it. So I'll multiply everything by 2. And then so whatever money she has here has to add up to 600. So here is a good equation that would work out. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is, since I have all these different amounts that Emily will save, different scenarios. So let's see which ones get me up to 600. So I'm just going to plug them in. So 120 plus the first one is 160. So that gives me, this amount gives me a total of $560. Okay, so let me just get all of the amounts and then I'll go ahead and analyze which one works best. That's not where I want to plug in. 120, and this is my x, right? So 170 gives me 580. Okay. It's gonna honestly just put all the equations in. 190 and then one more. 200. All right, so here are all of the different amounts that I have here. So I'm not gonna write them all out. They're all over here. Okay, so if this amount gives me 560. So if she saves 160 more, she will have exactly. No, that won't work. She won't have exactly enough. She needs 600. If she saves 170, she's still short. 180 will give me exactly what I need. That's exactly what I have here. So that's going to be one of my answers. 190 gives me more than enough. Yep, that works out because that gives me $620. And then 200 will give me more than enough, not exactly. So these two are the correct answers. Okay. All right, a couple more problems here. All right, the length of a rectangle L is 5x. The width is x plus 2. So the length is 5x and then x plus 2. What is the perimeter? Okay, so the perimeter is basically when you add up all the sides. So if this side here would also be x plus 2. So you have 2 of the x plus 2. That's why we have 2 times the width here. And then this side would be 5x because these two are going to be equal. So perimeter is when you add up everything, it has to be equal to 50. So 5x plus 2x plus 2 plus 5x plus 2x plus 2 equals 50. This is definitely one of my equations that I could use to solve for the perimeter or solve for x. And then the other one is 2 times x plus 2 because I have 2 of them plus 2 times 5x because I have 2 of them equals 50. So that's my other equation. That's it. All right, y'all. Last one. Directions. Complete the statements to make both true. Okay. The 3 students below attempted to solve the same equation on the algebra test. It's supposed to be the same equation. I made up two different equations. But anyway, let's see. Let's see what happens. So here, if you notice, I'm going to go ahead. Let's see what Tina did here. So 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times 2 is 6. That looks good so far. So subtract 3x, bring everything down. And the next step would be combining like terms. 6x minus 3x is 3x. Bring this down, and then that looks good. And yeah, if I notice that there's the same thing on both sides, even if I take this out, so 6 equals 6. So that's infinitely many solutions. So Tina, she solved it correctly. Good job, Tina. All right, and then let's see what happens here. 6 times 2 is 12x. Negative 36, and then negative 4 times negative 3 is, all right, so here's a mistake. Negative 4 times negative 3 is positive 12. Okay, so made an error when applying the distributive property. Yeah, so Amparo made a mistake here. Okay, and then let's see what Jennifer did. So 40x, negative 24, that looks good. Negative 18, yes. Negative 24, that looks good. And then looks like took this over, so that is true so far. But this is actually not a no solution. This is actually one solution, because here you can divide both sides by 58, so x would equal 0. That's actually a solution. 0 would be a solution. So that's also, well, doesn't work. But these two are the true statements. All right, you guys, that's the review. And yeah, thanks for watching.